This is Chet Holmgren, and I'm down to dunk.
This is AJ Mitchell, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Alex Crusoe, and I'm down to dunk.
It's like baby bottle pop.
Yeah.
This is Adam Flagler, and I'm down to dunk.
Hey, it's Isaiah Hartenstein, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Cason Wallace, and I'm down to dunk.
I can't spell Lucas. Hey, how do you spell Lucas? How do you spell Lucas?
This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
This is Nikola Topic, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Dylan Jones, and I'm down to dunk. This is Isaiah Joe, and I'm down to dunk.
And there's probably like 50 to 75 Beanie Babies.
Give me like your top 3 Pokemon.
Brother, I can't even name.
This is Jay Will, and I'm down to dunk.
Sometimes the way his brain works is it leaves a lot to be desired.
This is Kenrich Williams, and I'm down to dunk.
Charmander.
Charmander.
Or you're more of a Charmeleon guy.
Charmeleon.
This is Shake Gilgeous-Alexander, and I'm down to dunk.
Schlecht. You know what it means? Yeah.
That means like bad.
It means bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
Well, it was a good interview, so it wasn't bad.
J-Dub, year 3, and I'm down to dunk for the 3rd time. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to episode 1607 of Down to Dunk. I'm Luke, joined this evening by Jay.
It's muted.
And Alex.
Hey, what's up, guys? Andrew's
What's up?
gone again. He's gallivanting.
He's out and about.
He's out and about on the town. So it's just us 3 tonight. We're all drinking. Andrew doesn't let us drink on the pod.
That's right, brother.
Luke's
When you know what they say.
What's
when
that?
the cat's away, the mice will play. We're just
I
a
believe
bunch
we
of
say
mice.
that every time Andrew
Well,
is not here.
It's a common saying.
I know it's a common saying. Yeah, I'm loaded up right now. I've got beer. I've got peanut butter pretzels from Costco. I just made a Costco run. So I'm ready to go. And we are here to celebrate arguably the best win of the season. I kind of want to talk about that, actually. Yeah, I would say easy top 5 win of the season. On, that was Wednesday night, last night. Just a great game in Boston.
Oh, yeah.
And OKC finishes them off at the end, 118-112.
No dub.
No dub.
No Caruso.
No Caruso. No
Also,
AJ.
No Mingus.
No respect from the people on TV who all thought the Celtics were going to win.
Well, I mean, to be fair, me and Andrew also picked the Celtics on the Wednesday pod. So
now you're
that crazy.
So now you're eating crow.
I am eating a little crow. So before we jump into the game, just big picture. Can you think of a game this season, a win this season that you think is a bigger win? Like if you're just thinking best wins.
The Cavs won. The Cavs won.
That's what I was going to say.
The first Boston win.
So the reason I would put this one over, not just because it was on the road, but also because Boston had, I think, their worst shooting game of the season in that first game. So as fun as it was also like, well, Boston's never going to do that again. And they kind of tried in this game, took 63 threes. But I was also thinking the Portland game for a lot of people would probably be top 5 just because that was such a unique game with so many guys out.
Yeah.
And getting to see Wiggins go off for 30.
Yeah.
Like that was a special game.
Yeah.
I was thinking the first game of the season. Wait, no, that was Chicago. Or was it Denver? Whatever that Denver game was right at the beginning of the season. Because I felt like that kind of like set the standard of what to expect this season. The fact they went into Denver and beat them.
And Chet was incredible that game.
Yeah.
I also think, what about so you have the Rockets in the play
in the NBA Cup. That was a great one.
You had the Mavericks in the play the
Yeah,
cup, not the play in the cup. Those are both fun.
I mean, there's so many guys, you know. Imagine being on a Wizards pod trying to come up with their top 5 wins.
You know, I was actually, side note, very, very side note, surprised. I went on Tankathon. I didn't realize Utah was as bad as they were.
Oh, it cracks me up so much because I keep every like couple days for the last 2 weeks, I've been trying to Google to find the Danny Ainge quote about how like tanking isn't the only way. Like you don't have to tank. Because I just love that, and it's the same thing with Masai Ujiri because he has said stuff that's like anti-tanking in the past. It always comes around, and eventually, like you got to do it. Like Toronto is desperately trying to tank right now. They threw out one of the most disgusting rosters ever against Philly and won the game, so lost. And then Utah, they got fined $100,000, which you think back to the OKC tank years, like what teams are doing now is like not that different at all. And you think about how much hate OKC got in those 2 seasons and what is happening right now. There's still 17 games left and teams are already going this out for it. You know, I mean, I don't think OKC ever got fined $100,000 for holding a player out.
Did some of that come up after the Thunder were tanking though?
That may be true, actually. Yeah, because I don't even know if those fines existed. Because that might be with the new CBA, the idea that like you can't hold out star players for long periods of time, and I think that's why they got nailed for the Larry Markkinen thing. But regardless, it's going to get so ugly. I mean, we still have like a month of regular season basketball left. I'm thinking of going to see. I just got offered tickets to see the Raptors in Portland on Sunday. Might just to see what they throw out there. Yeah, going back to this Boston game, incredible game. So much fun. I didn't have super high expectations going in, but man, right from the jump, you could tell like they were locked in. And the thing that I always look for is like, is anyone other than Shea being aggressive? And I felt like they were right from the jump. Like, and it didn't always even work. Like, but there was a really aggressive drive from Cason Wallace, and there was a really aggressive drive from Wiggins. Like, they were really attacking the rim, especially in that first half. And I just love to see that because when this team has stagnated, when they've had trouble, usually it's been against a zone, against a good team, but it usually has looked like Shea's the only one who's willing to drive, and everyone else is just kind of standing around, passing around the perimeter. And so seeing those other guys get involved, I mean, Cason had an awesome game. I thought he was so good. That block he had on Jaylen Brown, where he was just playing him, he was just defending him straight up and blocked Jaylen Brown.
And there was a play, this was in the second half, and where Cason just attacking the rim.
Yeah.
Where it feels like sometimes I forget that he is more capable than just shooting a 3-pointer or getting the ball at the rim. Like he was actually, I can't remember who was defending him. Maybe it was Peyton Pritchard or whoever, but he took him to the rim and finished with just incredible, I don't know, assertiveness on the court. And then Chet was fantastic in the first half. I thought he was okay in the second half. I'm trying to figure out what happens if you guard him with the smaller guy. Like how does Chet what does he do? I don't think he really has the physical tools to punish somebody, or take him down to the paint, nor is that really what they want Chet to be doing anyway. And his handle's still a little loose for me to get excited. That was just one of like the small critiques I saw of Chet, but it was, I mean, I don't know if it's the best game he's played since he got back, but he was incredibly aggressive and really helped carry the load a lot as well for this team in that game. Just an impressive win.
Yeah, he was huge on the boards. And I do think, because we saw it at the beginning of the season, like what you're talking about, him matched up on a smaller guy, like I do think his mid-range game is the thing that's going to like keep evolving, keep expanding, because he can shoot over anyone. We know that he can hit those shots. And I think as he gets just more usage in this offense, we're going to see some of the games like we saw at the beginning of the season where it felt like, wow, he's making like a gigantic offensive leap right now. I think that's coming. It's just, he was out for so long and then having to ramp back up. But, I was obviously we don't want J-Dub to be hurt, but it was nice for one night to kind of see a situation where Chet was almost forced into that role. Like you knew that he had to do something. He had to be the second guy, because who else would you have guessed? You probably would have said like, oh, maybe it would be, like Wiggins, who scored 0 points in the game and was over 9. But yeah, I just thought Chet was great. Shea was like, and I'm so pissed but I'm gonna stay positive first. Chet had some finishes in this game that were just like incredible. Like the one finish in the second half where I didn't even understand how he got there, but he got on the other side of the rim and had the reverse layup that went in. And then there were a couple in the first half too. I mean, the one where he like shook Jaylen Brown and just like left him. And then, of course, this is where I'm going to start complaining. Then, of course, you go on NBA Reddit after the game, and what are the 2 posts that are on the front page of NBA Reddit about this awesome game between 2 awesome teams? A very good game, an enjoyable basketball game. What are the 2 posts? It's Jaylen Brown getting his 6th foul, and it is Jason Tatum getting a technical, just so all these losers in the comments can complain about Shea as a foul merchant. And I just think it's so lame because I went back and rewatched the game this afternoon. I think people are conflating 2 different things. There's star calls, which have always existed. And I think an example of a star call was in that first quarter. There was a play where he drove to the rim, Luke Cornett went up, and it was kind of a 50-50 call. And most of the time, the star is going to get that call, and that's what happened. Shea got that call. I think those calls have always existed in the NBA. We talk about it with young players, like with J-Dub. Remember J-Dub's rookie season where like, man, he's just like not getting the respect from the refs. Like that aspect of the NBA has always been there, and it's always been an accepted part. I don't think anyone should have an issue with that part of Shea's game. And then there's the other part, which is the foul baiting. That's what people get really pissed about. If you go back and watch the game, we're talking about like max like 3 to 5 plays in a 48-minute basketball game. In a 48-minute basketball game where he's having so many other plays where guys aren't even touching him because he's shaking them. Like focusing on like 1 or 2 foul calls in a beautiful basketball game between 2 of the best teams in the league. Like, I just think that's such loser behavior. It's so lame.
But they lost. And so they're going to complain about something, I think, is that if they would have won, they'd be, having posts about how great they are. And they lost. And so the thing is that is the thing that people are going to point to when they lose to us, because I don't think that they really have anything else to hang their hat on, really.
Yeah, but the thing that bothers me about it is not that like accusations of foul baiting. Like I will be perfectly honest. Yes, Shea does foul bait sometimes. I forgot what the game was that me and Andrew were talking about that went down to the final shot, and he took that 3 where it was like clear that he was trying to get the foul more than he was trying to hit the shot. Like, yes, he absolutely has plays where he appears to be more interested in getting to the line than he is in making the shot. Yeah. Like a lot of stars.
Yeah.
But there's this like campaign to try to treat Shea like he is prime Harden. And that's the part that drives me insane. Like, we're only a few years removed from Harden's antics being like all across Reddit, being this huge deal, and honestly being pretty justified because Harden had like so many more isolation possessions. Like, his reel, if you made it, was so much more dramatic than what you could come up with for Shea. And an example of this is I was listening to Bill Simmons' podcast today, and I actually thought Bill did an awesome job talking about OKC Boston. Like, he was very fair. Then he had Kirk Goldsberry come on, and Kirk Goldsberry brought up this stat. He was like, there's 3 guys in the league who draw more than 6 fouls per game. It's Shea, Jalen Brunson, and Giannis. And he kind of presented it with the implication being like, wow, that's a lot of fouls drawn. Okay. I went back the last 5 years. So Shea draws 6.3 fouls per game. I went back the last 5 years. Where do you think that would rank over the last 5 years? Now, I just told you that this year there's only 3 guys who draw more than 6 fouls. So in the last 5 years, where do you think Shea this year would rank among all the players in the last 5 years?
I bet he's 20th.
I was actually thinking somewhere 18 to 22.
You guys are great. 21st. Like, this is not some
abnormal.
Yes, it's not an aberration of a season.
Also thinking about how they used to, like, when they complained about Harden, they would get onto him for that, and they'd also get onto him for his defense. And with
Yeah.
Shea, you
Yeah, that's
don't
true.
have that. You can't say, "Oh, well, look at his abysmal defense," because he's great on defense. And so the only thing that they have to hang their hat on is the fouls, which, like you say, when you look at it, this past 5 years is not that big of a deal. But it just shows how I think complete his game is, because they don't have other things to critique about. And
Yeah,
so
that's a great point, because 2 years ago you could have criticized his defense. 2 years ago you could have criticized his 3-point shot, but he's become like such a
yeah,
good player. Like he keeps bringing something new every single year. Like last year we saw him like really start showing something on the defensive end.
yeah.
This year I feel like his development in the types of 3-point shots that he's hitting and how comfortable he looks doing it, like that has been a huge addition to his game. In
And
addition to like all the driving and things that he's always been good at.
also bringing, as a star, bringing getting fouled, drawing fouls to his game is a part of his game that only big stars in the league get. And so it's a negative if you're the team that he's beating. But for us, that is a full part of his game that he has not always had. And so it's bringing something more to his game. At the end of the day, it's something that's putting points on the board, and it is a positive to his game, regardless of how people want to complain about it.
Well, and the thing you'll hear people say is like, just wait till the playoffs. Wait till the playoffs. We'll see if Shea keeps getting those calls. Last year, he took 8.1 free throw attempts in the game, which, by the way, was fifth out of everyone in the playoffs last year. He took 8.7 last year in the regular season. Like, I don't know what people think happened in last year's playoffs. Like, Shea was incredible in last year's playoffs. I think he's going to be incredible again. And I don't know. I feel like there's this narrative that has started to be built around Shea that I just think is really unfair. And I love his game so much. Like that play where he went under the basket with the layup. Like if NBA Reddit truly reflected like a community of people who love basketball, like that play should have been like the top play. That was such a beautiful finish. And yet, everyone's obsessed with fouls. Other thing I wanted to mention, you kind of mentioned it, Luke, his defense. Because I've been thinking about this, how can we start creating a really good MVP case for Shea? What would it entail? What should we add to it? Because listen, we're OKC fans. Like, obviously, we want our guy to win. So let's spend a little time coming up with the best arguments. Why wouldn't we do that? And one argument that I do think is a really important part of Shea's case that I don't feel gets talked about that much is his defense. And I think the reason is because it's hard to talk about. It's hard to quantify. This is obviously an incredible defensive team. There's so many good defensive players. So how do you quantify it? The way that I have been thinking about it is looking across the league. How many star point guards would you consider a good defender? And so by star, I mean like a guy who has made an all-star game. How many star point guards would you consider a good defender? Like, it just doesn't happen. I'm going to list off the star point guards that have made the all-star game recently. Luka, Trey, De'Aaron Fox, Darius Garland, Tyrese Maxey, Jalen Brunson, Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, James Harden, Kyrie. Like, are any of those guys kind of universally considered a good defender? I mean, there's guys like Kyrie who, in the playoffs, we've seen Kyrie be a really good defender. There's, when Steph was a little bit younger, there was a point where people kind of recognized that, like, okay, he's not a guy you can target necessarily. He's learned how to be a good team defender. But I feel like Shea is this really rare player where he is a star point guard that is not taking anything off the court on the other end. Yeah. He is taking this massive, I almost said massive load. I'm not going to say that. He's taking this huge burden on himself on the offensive end, and isn't giving up anything on the other end. Like he is not.
Yeah.
Like even if you don't think that Shea is like some incredible defender, like that's fine. But do you know how valuable it is to have your star offensive point guard not be a target on defense?
Yeah.
And actually be a positive on defense? I just think that is such a huge part of his case that is really hard to quantify because, as I mentioned, Alex Caruso, Kaysen Wallace, Hartenstein, Chet, these are all incredible defenders. So I get it from that perspective, but you can just think about it really simply. Like, is Shea ever been like a consistent target for another team? No, we haven't seen that. And because of the way he plays, like everyone knows OKC's big thing is creating turnovers. Like Shea in that free safety position, causing those deflections, getting out in transition, like that's a huge part of his defensive value to this team. But I do feel like it's something that needs to be talked about more and not just written off, because what I've seen a lot is when people bring it up, they just immediately dismiss it because it's like, well, he's not the reason they're one of the greatest defensive teams of all time. But I would almost argue that he is, because the only way you could get to be the greatest defensive team of all time and still be a great team is if whoever your star player is also a positive defender. And as I just mentioned, by listing off those other names, it's super rare in the point guard position to have someone who does it on both ends. So it's just something, when you're out there, if you run into someone who's maybe you don't live in Oklahoma City and you're arguing with someone who, it doesn't have a vote and your conversation doesn't actually matter, something to bring up. Okay. Something to bring up and not to just immediately dismiss, which I feel is what is happening right now.
That's good. I think that's a great way to think about it. And I think because it's so hard to quantify, I think it's going to be hard for people to make that. I don't think you're going to hear that argument on TV, when they're talking about it, because I think it's pretty hard to make because it's hard to quantify.
What'll be funny though is like the all NBA or all NBA defense teams, because I do think they're going to get a lot of respect there.
Yeah.
And I'm interested who ends up being the guys that the media decides to focus on. Because I feel like with something like all NBA defense teams, it's usually like the really smart guys who like watch every team kind of decide who is the best defender. And it's to some extent like you have to accept it, because like I can't have a strong opinion about, some guy's defense on another team that I don't watch every single game.
Yeah.
But I feel like Dort's going to get that respect. I feel like he's kind of like the lead guy, but I'm really interested to see who else, because we know that they're going to get at least 2, if not 3. Who would you guys guess if you were guessing right now who's going to make the all defense team?
Dort, I would say.
Dort and Dub would be mine.
Yeah. I think those are probably the safest, because Caruso has missed too much time. Chet has missed too much time.
Yeah. I think that if we're going to get 3, it'd be those 3 with the Shea on there. But
I kind of think Shea might be, although, hey, this most recent, I do feel like more people are talking about Kaysen Wallace now, which is well-deserved. Yeah. Isn't it crazy that he's like in his second year and we feel like he already holds so much value. He already brings so much value to this team in his second year. Whereas you look at I was watching the Blazers last night, and Shaedon Sharpe, like a player that I'm like really excited about. Like he has some like crazy highlight dunks. He's in his third year, and yet like we still don't like totally know like how good is he, like what kind of value is he going to bring to a winning team. But we're so focused on his ceiling. Whereas someone like Kaysen, it's like he's fit so well into this role that you can kind of forget about his ceiling, kind of like you were mentioning earlier, Jay. And then you see these flashes of like other things he might be able to do. And it is kind of exciting because it is only year 2.
We don't really have. Go ahead, Jay.
Well, one of the things I was just going to say, and as you were saying all of this, is there anybody of what superstar, top 2 MVP candidate, insert kind of thing that you would say about Shea this year? What superstar doesn't draw some sort of conflicted? I mean, the foul, the foul baiting, whatever they want to say about that. go through. I'm thinking of every star that's ever been. There's always been some collection of people that have found issues with their game. You could probably, and I wasn't paying enough attention, and there wasn't as much. I mean, you didn't have podcasts with Jordan, but there were some people out there that thought he was probably doing a lot what Shea does, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I think about MJ because especially before 92, like before he won his first title, I remember hearing, like, whether it's podcasts or like reading a book, how it's like the exact same thing that we saw like with LeBron, which we were much more familiar with that, like LeBron's early career. Like, is this guy ever going to win a championship?
Yeah.
I know that they were doing that with MJ, which is obviously so crazy to think about now. And
yeah, for
there
sure.
is a,
like even in the Last Dance, they were talking about Detroit. Detroit beat them, and will they ever be able to do this? And every great star has had something like this. LeBron. I mean, you think about Steph. Like early on in his career, is he going to be healthy enough? And then it's like, well, he doesn't shoot 3-pointers, and he doesn't really play defense. There's always, like, I'm trying to think of who are people that I think Giannis would be the guy that I think is kind of universally
free throws.
appreciated.
People obsessed about his free throws, counting out to 10 during finals games. Yeah, you're right. Everyone does kind of have something. Like even Tatum, who has like a very well-rounded game,
incredibly
hated. But he's not like top 3.
Because whenever I'm thinking about someone that's like trying to get free throws, do you remember when Durant had that rip move that he did? That people called a foul whenever he did it. Like, that to me was egregious. It was so egregious they made a rule change related to it. And so, like, there's nothing like that. I mean, Shea's fouls he's getting are in actual basketball plays.
He did get one exactly with that against Jaylen Brown on Wednesday night. But the thing that's hard about it is there's still a foul. Like, it's still a foul.
Yeah.
Like, he had his arm across on his body. And as soon as Shea felt that, he goes up for the shot. And you know who else did that? Is on, what was that, Sunday or Monday? Jokic does it as well. Because you know who does? Every NBA player.
Yeah.
Because they're always, the point of being successful is to take advantage of every single opportunity you have to take advantage of it. So
I know, that was like that.
Get out of here. Like, it is a loser narrative. And I'm like, hey, sorry that he's, playing at this level that is going to be all time, where he's going to be considered one of the top, 15, 20 players by the time his career's done, and maybe lead this team to a championship.
Wow. Top 15 to 20, Jay.
I don't know. I would have to go through the list.
Maybe a hot take.
Maybe top 8. No, but I'm like, his ceiling is so, what if he, so let's say he goes out and he wins a championship this year and an MVP at, what is he, 26?
I'm on his basketball reference page right now. Yes, he is 26.
So I just am thinking about, like, what does the next 10 years of his career look like?
Yeah.
Based on what we're seeing so far. Every year he brings back another tool. He's under control. He seems like all of those intangibles that you value so much in superstars and players that lead. Like, I just think it's not out of the realm of possibility that he does finish his career in that kind of, top 15, top whatever, but the upper echelon of NBA players.
The weird thing with him is that his career started at a much lower point than some of the guys that we kind of knew about. Like LeBron was like brilliant from, year one. Obviously, he's one of the greatest players of all time. But a lot of these players, even Jokic was like pretty good really quick. Shea had that weird year in Clippers with the Clippers, where he was coming off the bench as a rookie. And then even in that first year with OKC, it was more about CP3 kind of leading that team. And it's taken him a few years to kind of get to this status. But like you said, like, he's still only 26. And going back to someone like MJ, like, it does take a while to win your first one. It's very rare to win it at a really young age. And so, yeah, even if he won a championship like in the next 3 years, like 26 or 27 or 28, I still feel like he could be on pace to have one of those great careers, because he would still be like right in the middle of his prime.
Yep.
So we should start working on the statue, is what you're saying.
Well, Us personally?
Yes. It's going to take us a long time to get the skills to do it, so we should start working on it right now.
Yeah,
That's a great
yeah.
point. Take some courses.
But by 10 years or so from now, we'll be able to do it, I think.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, but going back to the Boston game, it was a great win. I appreciated, as I said, I was listening to Bill Simmons. I appreciated that he acknowledged that, like, yes, there was this huge free throw discrepancy, which, by the way, that never happens with OKC, that they have that large of a free throw discrepancy. I meant to look it up, but I have a feeling that has to be like one of the top 3 free throw discrepancies in favor of the Thunder this entire season. And it was awesome. We never get that.
But isn't that largely because the Celtics shot 63 3-pointers?
Yeah, and that's what Bill said, and it's true. Like, I'm on Cleaning the Glass. The percentage of shots that they took at the rim was 15%. Now the Thunder, they only took 25% of their shots at the rim. They continue to not. I think that was more in the second half where it started to balance out, because I felt like in the first half they were getting to the rim a lot. But yeah, if you only get to the rim, or if you only take 15% of your shots at the rim and you're taking 63, I couldn't believe, I was rewatching it, got to the end of the first quarter, and they showed the stat where they were 9 of 22 from 3, which would have been like a great 3-point game, honestly, like 5 years ago, for a team to go 9 of 22 for an entire game. And for them to do that in one quarter is so crazy. And then they shoot 63 for the entire game. I mean, that's what makes a potential matchup with Boston fun to me, because there's so much variance built into that because of the amount of threes they take. And I do think that would change if Porzingis was healthy, because he obviously gives them, I mean, he shoots threes too, but he does give them another look down low. Yeah. He does get post ups. And I think it would be an incredible matchup, because we've often focused on teams that we feel like we match up poorly against, whether it was Dallas before everything fell apart, or like the Wolves, have been a tough matchup for OKC. It does kind of feel like OKC's a pretty good matchup, or that Boston's a pretty good matchup for OKC. Like, the fact that Jaylen Brown has been terrible in both of these games, like, they've really been able to hold him in check.
Yeah,
that makes me feel kind of good.
It feels really good, because like that very well could have been a preview of the NBA Finals, and to win it when we're missing our second best player feels really good. I mean,
well, and you look at, I think a Boston fan would say we were also missing maybe one of the kind of pieces that puts everything together with Porzingis.
He definitely puts them over the top for sure.
He does. I think that. So Jay King on the NBA Daily, the Athletics NBA Daily this morning, had a really good piece of, and he just is like, and I think Andrew was on his podcast earlier this week. He mentioned on Wednesday, and he's just talking about the Thunder and understanding the limitations, but he was just incredibly impressed with what he saw from the way they play. And because I think one of the critiques, or one of the potential issues for the Thunder would be, and this may actually have been on Vicini's podcast. They had the Lakers guy, I can't remember his name, and I don't want to butcher what I think.
Jovan Buha.
Yeah, there you go. And they had him on, and they were talking about why, even though both of them were like, I think the Thunder would beat the Lakers in a series, both of them talked about how the Thunder are pretty undersized on the perimeter when it comes to how they defend players, because Lou or Kaysen or even Caruso, if you have bigger wings like Tatum, like Jaylen Brown, or like Luka, like LeBron, is that could pose some potential issues with or for the Thunder. And then watching that Boston game, I thought they handled it really well. They did. They took Jaylen Brown pretty much out of the game. Tatum was still good, but I felt like when it became important, he was kind of a non-factor towards the end of the game.
Yeah, for sure.
Derek White. This is where the Thunder can just create problems. If you're a guard-heavy team, they just were flying around. And what was really annoying to me watching the Celtics game is watching the energy that they were playing defense with, and then going, okay, well, they were not doing this Monday night against the Nuggets. They were clearly not doing this on Monday night, And I can imagine they're getting tired, but it just felt like they found a gear on Wednesday night that I was like on defense. Even though, they missed open shots, but for the most part, a lot of them seemed like, at least in my watching, were pretty contested.
Yeah, and whatever size disadvantage there is, which, let's be honest, we're talking about height. That's all it is, because they make up for it with strength. I mean, in case of Lou Dort, wingspan in the case of Cason Wallace blocking Jaylen Brown, and then inactivity. Like, they are just so active. Like, there is never a defensive play where you feel in a game like that where they're like really revved up, where you feel like they're getting caught like ball watching or something. Like they're so locked in. And Boston's a really hard team to defend because, I mean, they had a couple of possessions in that game where they're passing the ball like, 7 to 8 times a possession, swinging the ball back and forth until they get a wide open three. And at some point, there's just like nothing you can do. Like, they're trying their best to switch to all these guys one after the other. Eventually, Boston's going to create some of those advantages. Yeah. But as a whole, like, yeah, they were so good against a team. And I do think the size thing is probably a little different with the Lakers because, like, LeBron is like his own thing. He could be a small ball center. And then even Luka, but we've seen with Lou Dort on Luka, he's been able to handle that matchup pretty well. So I actually, that's a great transition, Jay, because I kind of want to talk about the Western Conference standings right now, because I think it's about to get very interesting. And the first shoe already dropped tonight, which is that the Lakers got killed by Milwaukee, 126-106. They don't have LeBron. LeBron is out for an indefinite period. I had kind of locked them into like they're going to be a top 5 seed no matter what. But something to consider is that LeBron's out, indefinite period. They have the 3rd toughest remaining schedule. Okay. They are currently tied with Houston, who's in the 5th seed. Golden State and Minnesota are 3.5 back currently. Minnesota, who has won 6 in a row, Golden State has won 5 in a row. Minnesota has the 3rd easiest remaining schedule. They have the easiest remaining schedule of any West team. They play a ton of these teams that are going all out for tanking. I think Minnesota is going to make a run. I think Golden State's already been making their run. I'm not saying it's definitely going to be the Lakers who fall out, because I do think it could be Houston. Houston's been pretty good lately. They've won 4 in a row. But Houston's last 5 games of the season, let me bring it up real quick because it's like a murderer's row. So they play Oklahoma City, then they play at Golden State, at the Clippers, at the Lakers, Denver at home. Those are their final 5. Now, maybe OKC at that point is just like cruising, but those other 4 teams are likely going to be playing for seeding. Yeah. And so I really think that both the Warriors and the Timberwolves are going to end up in that top 6. I'm just not, I haven't figured out who I would bet to be the one to fall out.
Yeah.
Because they're still like 3.5 back, which 3.5 games at this point in the season feels gigantic. But I think it could start moving. Like the Lakers, they lost tonight against Milwaukee. Their very next game is against Denver. Like they lose that game, one of those, the Warriors and Timberwolves keep winning. Like now we're down to like 3 or 2.5 back. And I just think it could start changing really quick.
Yeah.
And so I think Thunder fans may be in this mode where we kind of feel like we have a general idea of how these standings are going to look. I think it might be like completely different by the end.
Well, and the hard part was I was looking at it the other day, and it was when the Lakers and the Nuggets were 2-3. And I was like, well, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, that would be incredible.
It was like, let them take care of each other in the quarterfinals or the semifinals of the Western Conference, and then we could play them in the Western Conference Finals. But who knows? And I'm not even trying to predict. Yeah. It's so close. You're right. 3.5 games feels significant with 20 games, but the Lakers, even tonight, like the Bucks just throttled them, and partly because they're just so thin.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of what was happening in the 7 games that they won before they've lost these last 3 is people figuring out how to play the new look Lakers and how do you defend them? How do you rebound against them? How do you play, offense against the way that they want to defend, because they've gone ultra small. And so it changes the dynamic for teams. But
I mentioned on Slam
LeBron may be out for multiple weeks.
Yeah. And I mentioned on Slam and Jam last week, up until this recent 3-game skid, like teams were shooting 30% on wide open threes against them in this stretch where they were doing so well.
I remember that.
So like that's going to come back around in the same way that it kind of has come back around for the Thunder. We mentioned, like the Nuggets shot 56% or whatever from three. Oh, that was not fun. That was not a fun game.
I didn't get to. I don't want to spend too much time on that game. It was the second half was just. I didn't even know how to process what the Nuggets were doing.
It was amazing. I mean, having the guys who were hitting those shots, like that's what you dream of.
Yeah,
Ross that'd be like
Peyton Watson corner threes. That guy that looks like he's probably a G League player that is now getting minutes for the Nuggets, hitting threes.
I mean, Peyton Watson is way beyond this guy. Okay, but imagine if like Oos came in and went 4 of 4 from the corners. Like it would feel incredible.
That would be great.
And then Peyton Watson, I don't know who he was talking trash to. My assumption is Kenrich, because that just kind of his thing. But he was giving it to him, and Thunder didn't really have anything to say because he hit everything.
Yeah, what can you do?
It's interesting kind of looking at who, you can't ever play that game of like who you want to avoid and who you want to play in the playoffs. Because I always go back to that one year where it's like it was the Russ Paul George here was like, oh, we are playing we have the team we want. We're playing against the Trailblazers, and that's who we want. And we lost to them in the first round. Like, you just don't know. But I think it just feels so good that now, if you are another team, you want to avoid the Thunder. Like, you don't want to play the Thunder for as long as you can because we've had the season we've had. And so, like, it's always just so strange because, like, we are the scary team for people to draw, I think.
I don't think that most
other
NBA
teams feel that way.
Yeah.
Well, I think other teams would they'd probably list like Denver and the Lakers before the Thunder.
I don't know. I'd be interesting to know. I mean, I feel like they should feel like that, but maybe they don't. But I don't listen to like, those other teams' podcasts to know what they're thinking about. Maybe I should, but I'm not.
I think there's a newness to OKC where teams just feel like, okay, well, this can't be. They can't be this good. Like let us get them in the 7-game series and we'll see what's up. Like I feel like that's the approach of a lot of other NBA fan bases, which is fine. Like they haven't won anything yet. I get it. But the thing feels
kind of like they thought against how Boston was viewed the last couple of years. And theirs was even more painful because they had already gotten. Had they done they had lost. They lost to the Warriors in a finals and then lost in a couple of Eastern Conference finals, right?
Yeah, they lost to Miami in the Eastern Conference finals where they got down 3-0. Yeah. I've given up on trying to like pick or like hope for this perfect setup for OKC because it's just I do feel like it's just too variable right now. But one thing where I am like locked in on is who the Nuggets get in the first round, because I think there's a decent shot it could be Nuggets Wolves, which that, in my opinion, would be like ideal for the Thunder. Whether it's a 2-7 or a 3-6, I think that would be incredible because for whatever reason, well, I think there's obvious reasons, but like Minnesota has had their number. Like they just play them so well.
Yeah, they just beat them by 20. What, last night?
Killed them, and they're so good at guarding Jamal Murray. I mean, a lot of it is the things that we see when they play OKC. Like they're a really tough team. They play super physical. They match your physicality. They're like ready for it. And yeah, like watching them go up against Jamal Murray, I would just love to see that in a first round matchup. Hopefully in the 2-3, like on that side of the bracket. On the other side of the bracket.
Right now, I need the Grizzlies to get into that 4 seed. Like a Grizzlies Rockets 4-5 would just feel fantastic.
Yeah, for the Thunder, that would probably be the ideal scenario.
Right now, you have the Nuggets. If the playoffs started today, it's the favorite part of the year. But you have the Nuggets Warriors 3-6, which would still be a challenging series. It's not quite to the same level of Minnesota, but I mean, nobody.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Nobody wants, and that's the thing is. Sure, don't be afraid of the Thunder. That's fine. I think that's at your own peril because I think they are legitimately this good. But it is like it kind of feels like I'm trying to think of an analogy. It's like the old like the old guard you have to get through. It's like you have to some game where you have to slay these different kind of people who have been holding up
The gauntlet.
the gauntlet, So it's like you may have to beat Steph Curry, who's been the guy for 15 years, or LeBron James, or you may have to get through Jokic, or I don't know. It feels like winning a championship's not easy.
Well, that's why that run in 2012 was just like so perfect. Like how you beat the Lakers. The team that honestly we probably traded for Perk because of that Lakers team. And then you beat the Mavs, who had beat you in the Western Conference Finals. Yeah. And then you beat that Spurs team that was like an incredible Spurs team. Like that was just like the perfect run.
It was,
and
awesome.
Then they lose in the finals, but that was an incredible run to the finals. That's like all you could ask for. Like I feel like the version of that for the Thunder would be like playing Houston in round 1, like Golden State in round 2, although maybe Minnesota, and then like Denver.
Pre-Luka trade Dallas.
Yeah, he has to go back. Luka has to go back for a few months. He's going to be on the 8th seed down.
That was a wild time in the city because if you remember, like just like Thunder shirt like stands were opening on the side of the road of just like Thunder merchandise everywhere. Like it was all over the city. And I hope we get to experience that again because it was so cool.
It was also so new. I think the city and the organization, if the Thunder get that far, are going to go all out.
Yeah.
I just think it's going to be crazy.
We're going to get all the celebrities that are loosely affiliated with the Thunder.
James Marsden was at the game the other night.
That's one of my new favorite in-game things they do, the lookalike thing, because they always end on a celebrity that's in there. That's a great little bit.
It's good. Bit. It's good. James Marsden, PC North Panther. Wow.
Yeah, PC North Panther. Shout out to us.
Shout out to us. Jay, who you got?
Yeah, who you got?
Steve Largent.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Olivia Munn.
No, we got Olivia Munn. We got Sam Bradford.
Sam Bradford.
There are some Putnam City.
Andrew Shellact.
Eddie
Radasevich.
That's a long list.
Boom. Take that.
Boom. Suck it, Jay.
Yeah.
Your high school sucks.
Mm-hmm. We've always felt inferior to North anyway, so it's all right.
Hey.
We should probably you want to take a quick break?
Oh yeah. Yeah, sure.
Let's take a
break, and when we come back, we'll talk about. Andrew always does that, and I never have any idea what he's about to say. Like we're gonna take a break, and we'll come back and talk about this thing that I hadn't thought about at all.
What I would like to do is we're going to take a break, and we come back. We're going to talk about this back-to-back that the Thunder have Saturday and Sunday. The Detroit Pistons, Alex's Detroit Pistons, and the Milwaukee Bucks. So let's take a break. We'll be right back.
And we're back.
And we're back.
So are you watching? Are you watching the Pistons? Like, because I know you try to consume as much basketball as you can. Are they on your short list of teams you like to watch?
I do like them. I'll be honest. I have not watched them as much as I watched them last year when I was like locked in during the 28 game losing streak. Like I think I probably watched like 20 of those games because they always come. They're like the team that comes on at 4 p.m. out here. So I would just always like throw them on. I watched one of their games recently, and I do like watching them. I mean, Cade's been so much better. I really like Asar Thompson. Like, I think he's such a good defender. He's still not getting the minutes that I would hope, but I think he's going to be good long term. No, I mean, honestly, this year I've been way more locked in on the Blazers, just because they've had this really fun run. They've kind of become my second team. I've gotten to go to a lot of games, and
you're loving them.
I am loving them. They're way better than I thought they were going to be. I mean, I think they're going to be they're on track to be a surprise team this season, and they just got some fun guys. Like Denny Avdia is good. He's a big power wing. Tumani Kamara is cool. I like Shaden Sharp. Scoot Henderson scored 30 last night. That was a super fun game. So yeah, they've kind of become my second team.
They're too far out of it. They've lost 5 in a row. Like, there's no way they're going to make the 10.
No, if they had won last night, I might have been able to talk myself into it because the Mavs are kind of struggling
In a total free fall.
Yeah, but yeah, that loss last night. I mean, that was a brutal loss. And
Alex,
so I think that kind of takes them out of it.
tell us now if you're starting a secret Trailblazers podcast.
Yeah, I'm starting a new podcast called Blazed, and
whoa, dude.
I'm gonna there are gonna be some things involved in that podcast. I'll probably feel a little different from Down to Dunk. I might be doing something every episode, but anyways, yeah, tune into Blazed.
Getting blazed.
Just having like 4-hour podcasts. Like 20 minutes are about the Blazers.
Well, do you so looking ahead, they got this back to back. I'm interested to see what Dub looks like, or if he comes back in any of these, or they just sit him and then bring him back. I mean, did he even go on the was he on the bench?
I don't think he's with the team.
Then he's not with he's not with the team.
I don't think so. Oh.
Yeah, and the update so far is just like they don't. There's not really an update. I mean,
so my assumption is they'll probably save him for that game on Wednesday night back home against the 76ers. Huge game.
Sorry, he is not day to day. There isn't a clear timeline for his return. All Daignault has said is that he's not going to join them on this 3-game road trip.
Okay, so that answers that. So he's out. I mean, who knows what to expect? Like, if you had to pick those 2 games, 1-1, 2-0.
Yeah. I mean, I would guess 1-1. They were so good without Dub that feels weird, but I feel like they have to drop some of these games. I mean, I am very interested to see where this ends up because I feel like that Boston win is just like such a boost. Like they're at 54 right now.
Yeah.
I'm expecting they're going to end up somewhere around like 63, 64. So that'd be like 9 or 10 more wins.
I don't know how much they're going to rest people because I feel like they're going to be pretty liberal with their rest.
I would think so. And they do have some like they end the season with Utah and New Orleans. By that point, like those should be automatic wins. So that should be 2.
If Dub's back, what I would like to see, if Dub's back when they get home and ready to play.
You want him to go for 70.
Yeah, don't sit sit Shea against the Sixers and the Hornets.
Yeah,
that would get him a week break basically before he would have to play again. And I'm like, why not? And I don't think at this point it would hurt any of his MVP odds.
Philly, Charlotte, Utah, New Orleans. So those are like 4 wins already. So we're at 58. And then even if you go like 500 in the rest of the games, you're kind of where, 63, 64.
What was our preseason like over under?
Oh, let me tell you, Luke. What would you guess off the top of your head?
I bet it was 56.
Very close. 57.5, according to Basketball Reference.
Yeah.
We'll get past that.
Go back in time and take that bet.
Hey, Luke, can I ask you a question? And I'm not trying to embarrass you, so don't get offended. Oh, a big old glass of wine.
Big old glass of white wine.
Big old glass of wine.
Do you know who coaches the Portland Trailblazers?
Chauncey Billups, correct?
Very nice.
Do you know who coaches the Detroit Pistons?
More than Shaq.
Yeah, take that. Do I know who coaches the Pistons?
And even if you don't, just throw out a name.
No,
that's not Chauncey Billups.
I think it's also Chauncey Billups.
Oh,
actually,
that's correct.
Actually,
he's the first coach.
Wow, yeah, he's pulling double duty.
So last night, it's JB Bickerstaff who was the coach of the Cavs, but I don't know. That was pretty bad. Not for you. I'm saying so. Last night on NBA on TNT.
I know.
Today? Oh, did you see it? Okay.
I know what you're talking about. Hey, I'm a basketball fan. I got a basketball podcast.
I just don't. That's kind of niche, I guess. Maybe
that is a crazy thing. I mean, the other one that ranks up there is when Stephen A. Smith didn't know that the Knicks had traded Quentin Grimes. and he was talking about Quentin Grimes as an X factor in this like Knicks game, this upcoming Knicks game, and he is not on
Like
the team.
this season or last
This
year?
was last year. When
Okay.
it was when he got traded to Detroit.
Okay, yeah. So last
So
year.
whenever that was, yeah.
Yeah.
Which wasn't that for Bogdanovich and
Alec Burks.
Eesh.
Yeah. End up being pretty bad.
Hey, so I want to do something real quick, and I know we're getting close to being done, which is hopefully this doesn't take very long. It's sad. It's just good to be with you guys.
Yeah.
So this is not going to be an easy exercise, but it is going to be something I think would be enjoyable. So last year in the playoffs, you had the Thunder played 10 total games, and you ended up having 9 guys that played all 10 of those games. Okay. You had 2 guys that played 7 of the games, and then Usman Jang and Lindy Waters who played trash duty. So Gordon Hayward and Kenrich were the ones that played the 7 games, and then
God, that feels like so long ago.
I know. And then
Even thinking about Gordon God, think about how good that team was. And the fact that Gordon Hayward was a significant part of it. Like he was getting real minutes.
Yeah, he played a total of 46 minutes over 7 games.
He took a total of 2 shots.
He was 0 of 3.
Wow, that was close.
Hey, he was not very good.
So
that's a 0%.
Here's how the minutes worked out. Obviously, Shea was number 1 in minutes. He played almost 40 minutes a game. Dub played 38 minutes a game. Dort played 35. Chet 35. Kaysen played 20. Giddey played 18 minutes a game, which is wild.
Yeah.
And then 17 for Joe, 15 for Wiggins, 12, 13 for Jay Will. So if you look at the roster for this year, and you're going to start talking about what does a playoff rotation look like? You look at this. So this year, here's where everybody's playing right now. Shea's playing 34 minutes. J-Dub's playing 32. Lou is playing 29. iHeart's 28. Kaysen's 27. Chet's playing 27 as well. Wiggins is 23. Joe is 21. Caruso's 19 minutes. And then you have AJ at 16 and a half. Jay Will at 16. Kenrich at 14. And Us at 11 in the games that he's playing. So I am incredibly intrigued to see how many players Mark's going to put on the court in the playoffs, because you just don't know with him. And then on top of that is who gets their minutes squeezed. I think we talked about this maybe a couple weeks ago, but who gets their minutes squeezed? Who do you think what they're playing in the regular season will be far less than what they get in the playoffs this year? Maybe just an overview of what you think of the rotation.
Yeah, I mean, the obvious one to me is Jay Will. If Hartenstein and Chet are healthy, I suspect we will not see very many Jay Will minutes unless it's in a blowout. And I kind of feel the same about Kenrich, which I know last year we were mad that Mark wasn't playing Kenrich in the playoffs, especially when we're having to watch Gordo. But if you remove those 2 guys, you could get to a top 9, Caruso, Isaiah Joe, Wiggins, Chet, Kaysen, Hartenstein, Dort, J-Dub, and Shea.
Yeah.
I do think those are going to be like the core rotation guys that, if healthy, are going to be getting consistent minutes every single game. I think we could see spot minutes for Jay Will and Kenrich, but I feel like those top 9 are the guys that are pretty locked in to something every night.
And yeah. Go ahead, Luke. Sorry.
I'm interested to see Caruso's minutes, because I think I go back and forth. Like one day I was like, well, he's going to play a lot in the playoffs. And it's like, I don't know, he's going to play that much. And I really don't know. I think it might be kind of game to game what we're trying to do as far as like making changes between every game. Like I want to see how much Caruso's playing. And I think if he's not playing very much, I think that means, I feel like that means we're winning a lot, but I don't really know. So I do want to see that. That's the one I'm interested in, because I can't really figure out how we're going to do that.
Yeah, Caruso, he is such a special part of this team that I still don't feel like is being totally recognized. But I think if you start looking at advanced stats and seeing, for instance, like there's just like weird things with advanced stats where guys on the court aren't as good. Like when Dort's on the court, they're not as good defensively as when Dort's off the court. And it's like, well, why would that be? Alex Caruso skews so many of these on-off numbers because when he has played coming off the bench, he is so dominant. I mean, I was talking to Andrew on Wednesday about dunksandthrees.com has their estimated plus minus EPM. Like Caruso is number 1 in the league right now in defensive EPM, ahead of Wemby. Okay,
Wow.
he's a plus 3.1. Asar Thompson second, Wemby's third, Chris Dunn fourth, Draymond's fifth, Gobert's sixth, Amen Thompson is there, then Chet. Like these are all very legit defenders. Like everyone agrees these are great defenders. And Caruso right now is number 1 out of all of those guys. Like what he does to those bench units just takes them to another level defensively.
So what does he bring? Like maybe unpack that a little bit of what you see him do.
I mean,
I see him as like he's an agent of chaos that I see as much as anything.
Exactly. Like when people talk about why he's so great, they always talked about his disruption. Like he can just disrupt everything, like on ball, off ball, a lot of times off ball, like jumping into lanes, picking off, like causing deflections or getting the steal himself and getting out in transition. Like he is just so disruptive to what teams want to do. And I think for a lot of this season, he's been put in a really tough position because a lot of times when the bigs were out, Alex Caruso was the one who was like the nominal 5, which is why on Cleaning the Glass, I believe he is still listed as a big, which is crazy. But like he is so disruptive. And so when he's a forward now. He finally got downgraded to a forward. Maybe in a few weeks, he'll be a wing. We're getting closer to what he actually is. But yeah, he is just so special because everything that like that starting unit does well, I feel like he just takes it up an extra notch. Like everything we saw in that Boston game that we love defensively, it's like you add Caruso into that and it just takes things to another level. And I'm really excited to see that in the playoffs because of his like random injuries that he's had, which we kind of knew going into the season, that's kind of how it's going to be with Caruso. This is how his career's been. He usually misses like 20, 25 games each season because of random things, not like major injuries. But if you have him healthy for the playoffs, I really think he is like the cherry on top that would make this team like dominant, allow them to have a dominant playoff run, as opposed to a run where like they're struggling to get out of the first round or have a more competitive first round that you might expect. I feel like Caruso is the key there.
Yeah, I totally agree. And obviously he's been such worth every single dollar the Thunder have paid him.
I mean, yeah.
Like the shift in that those two additions plus a subtraction of Gordon Hayward
and Giddey.
And also Giddey.
Yeah.
It just that's why I'm like you cannot be afraid of them if you want to, but this team in my mind is as complete of a roster as we've seen in Oklahoma City ever. That's my opinion.
It's there's not a player that they're putting on the floor that you're like, oh no, like got to
except
suffer
for Usman.
these minutes. But even that's fun.
Even Us, he had a really nice play
even
last
that's
night.
fun. Yeah, it's still fun. So it's we're not throwing out Poku anymore.
Yeah, I got to eat crow on the Hartenstein thing because obviously I'm like all in now, but I was so like believing in the company line that like we believe Chet is a 5. Like look at these lineups with him as the 5. Like this is when they're at their strongest. And to be fair, like that is true. Like when they played Dallas, they killed Dallas in the Chet minutes, and it was Chet playing the 5. And there was a time last spring, like the idea of like going all in on this center when it felt like the team believed that Chet was going to be that center of the future. I just didn't buy it. Like I needed to see it. But now that you see it, and specifically someone like Hartenstein, this wouldn't have worked with just any center.
Yeah.
But you watch that Boston game, like they're running pick and rolls together. like 4 or 5 pick and rolls. They're doing dribble handoffs with each other. Like he is just so perfect for this system that they want to play. Like you couldn't ask for a better fit.
No. The thing that continually every time I watch iHeart play, his passing is what's the most, I think maybe one of his most underrated skills for sure. But it's the thing that in my mind kind of differentiates him from a lot of these other centers that you would possibly see. Like he's not obviously on Jokic's level, but he is an elite basketball mind, and the way he can find guys and make the pass. And you can feel it. Like that's what's been kind of neat. And what I liked about Boston is they played a lot more of Chet and iHeart independent of each other. But then when they do play together, but the reason I like it when Dub was out is because iHeart really helps the offense continue to do anything. If it stagnates, he can find guys. He's setting picks to get people free. He runs the offense in a lot of ways when Shea's not on the floor.
And that's why when you think about the things that we have freaked out about this season, like those games where like they're going up against the zone, or the games where they're doubling Shea and it feels like Shea's just like passing off immediately. Like when this team is healthy, I feel like a lot of those questions are going to be answered.
Yeah.
But thinking back to some of those games where teams did, show us the zone, like that game where I forget what game it was, but Hartenstein was out and Caruso was being forced to kind of be.
It was the Wolves game before.
Yeah, the Wolves game. Like I think so many of those questions are going to be answered if this team is healthy, and that's why like going back to the Wednesday pod talking about the way that Denver doubled Shea so aggressively, like oftentimes with Christian Brown and Russ coming up to meet him at half court. Like I'm so interested to see what Mark does in these playoffs. Because we all agree he's like a great coach. We all agree that like he can make really good rotational decisions and changes adjustments during a game. I feel like there's still so much more to see with this team, like that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah,
and if he really does like whip it out in the playoffs, it's gonna be something to look at. Okay,
look at this thing he just whipped out.
All right. Well, should that do it?
I think so.
Anything else, guys? Does anyone want to watch me stream Kingdom Come Deliverance 2?
Yeah.
Anybody want to watch me play that game?
Yeah.
I'm about 20 hours in.
What's it on?
Luke, you would love it, man. I don't know
What
why.
is-
It's like Skyrim. It's like a open world RPG, medieval times. No dragons, but
Ooh, I wish I knew someone that I could watch to stream that.
oh, really?
I mean, I'd watch it.
I'm thinking about becoming a Twitch streamer.
I mean, it'd be good. You got to flip up the bill on your hat. And I think you got it.
Have you ever heard of this guy named Dead Blossom Jesse?
No.
He's a Twitch streamer. He built a box, a wooden box, like that you can fully stand in and stretch out your arms, and he put it on an axle in his backyard so that once you start moving in the box, it will start spinning. Okay. And then he put buttons on all the walls that correspond to an N64 controller. Okay. And then he played Super Mario 64 in this box while trying to keep it from spinning.
With it moving all around. So how does he keep it from spinning?
You just have to like stay balanced in the middle. But inevitably he would like lunge for a button to jump and it would start spinning.
That's wild.
That's actually pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. Like I've been getting into Twitch streaming lately. People are doing some pretty cool stuff.
Have you heard of this? Have you heard this guy named World of T-Shirts? He drinks a lot and he streams on party.com with Mr. Based. I'm a huge fan of him. I really like him.
Lucas sent me a lot of those videos.
What's your YouTube algorithm showing you these days?
Me?
Yeah.
Let me go take a look. Well, unfortunately, I really need to get a separate one for my son.
My son is ruined.
I'm getting so many train videos. Like my son's gotten really into watching like real train or like those 1/8 scale trains that you can like ride around on. Like 2 50-year-old guys, and they're just like oiling up their little train and just riding around their backyard. He loves that kind of stuff. So I've been watching a lot of those videos.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. So unfortunately, yeah, I'm not getting as much good stuff as I used to get. I mean, they used to really send me some obscure stuff, and
I still have some remnants on. The only reason I asked, I opened up my YouTube downstairs before I came up here, and one of us like a 17-minute video of the worst cave dwelling death or cave
cave diving deaths. Oh, tight.
Yeah, I saw one of those on my timeline pretty recently. They're so scary. I don't like them.
Oh,
I
the
love
worst
the
one, the guy in Utah that was upside down and gotten the.
Oh God, the fact that they just like closed it off, like they couldn't get him out. They just closed it.
It just said, "See ya, hey."
Yeah, man.
It just it gives me all the ick.
It's claustrophobic. You're like, it's like it's not. It would not be a good way to go.
Nope.
Hey, there was my biggest fear, being buried alive. That's why I'm so afraid of earthquakes.
Is that why you watch those so regularly?
I think so.
Or used to?
I think
Okay.
yeah. I think it's like, you know how people get really into like true crime.
Yeah.
Because they have like this fear of like a someone like breaking into their house or whatever and kidnapping them. Yeah, mine is definitely being buried alive. So I watch a lot of earthquake videos too.
Did you see that there was that there's that plane on like the tarmac in Denver like tonight right before
I did see that.
My friend was on that plane.
Really?
Yes. One of
What
my
happened?
friends was on that plane, and she was like, she was telling me about it. She was like, "Hey, my plane is on fire," and I was like, "Haha, what?" And and her plane was on fire. The entire cabin filled with black smoke. The things that they like deploy, the like slides didn't deploy.
Oh, wait, she was on. They were on the plane. They had already loaded them.
Yes.
Were they loading to leave, or was that like
loading to? From my understanding, loading to leave.
Wow.
They all had to get off, and she sent me a video of her. They're like on the wing of the plane, getting off. It's crazy.
That's so scary.
Yeah, but at least she wasn't trapped in a cave.
That's true.
She also lived, so that was good too.
That's good.
They didn't just wrap the plane up and.
Hey, listen, sorry about you. No, that's just cave. That's just caves that happens.
That's
just
the only place. Just caves.
Andrew's going to be gone for a week, I think. So get ready for more podcasts like this. Hope you enjoyed it, because this is what you're getting.
Yay!
For at least next Monday and Wednesday, and then Andrew will be back for Friday. Slam and Jam this week. Sam Bassini.
Andrew's getting the RoboCop procedure, but for his leg, right? Yeah. It's gonna be awesome. The leg can turn into a gun.
He's getting the leg lengthening surgery.
Oh, if Andrew came back and he was like 6'8", but like mostly leg, that'd be awesome.
This whole ACL surgery thing was just his cover.
He has like a 32-42 length pant.
And just to show it off, he like doesn't adjust his seat, so like every podcast is just like this now. Just so that you know that he's tall now.
That'd be sweet.
He's just waiting to Chet. Chet says that whole thing. He's like, you just wait till I'm staring at you eye to eye.
That's
looking right at you.
But like that would be hilarious. Lord, I'm all in for that.
All right.
All right, folks. Hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy the sunshine. Is it going to be sunny out in OKC?
Yes. St. Patrick's Day.
Tomorrow, yes, it's supposed to be nice, but tomorrow we have a high wind warning.
Oh, yeah.
And they're saying like 60 to 70 mile an hour gusting winds tomorrow.
Yeah, the fire warning is like crazy.
Woo.
So,
okay, stay safe then.
But
don't
throw it gets nicer again.
Don't throw your cigarettes out the window.
Don't.
I know it feels good, but don't do it.
You feel cool.
It's the best feeling ever.
Feels good, but it's bad. It's bad for the environment. Don't do it.
All right, folks. We'll see you later. Love you.